Hey, sports bettors, happy Wednesday, March 13th. My name is Boyd. I teach beginner and struggling sports bettors how to use the data-driven tools, the betting tools at OddsJam. OddsJam helps you identify outlying prices in the markets and sports betting markets and mathematically just provide a lot of value to help you profit over and over again in all the different markets: mainline bets, player prop bets, derivatives, alt markets, live betting, arbitrage. It goes on and on. So the channel here is to help get you educated and elevated so you can profit and make a lot of money in sports betting. It's definitely doable with all the tools and all the resources out there now. Way more difficult years and years ago, but it's becoming more and more available to use this strategy. I've been doing it. It's something that I try to help people with. And I do have a website, boyddavis.com. I teach you how to expedite your education with some of the consulting packages we have available. So make sure you stop over there. So I mentioned stopping by the website, boyddavis.com, where I do one-on-one consultations with individuals to help them come up with a profit plan based on, their sports books, where they're located, their strategies, what their goals, what they want to do, and really help them incorporate strategies and methods and heuristics to incorporate, whether it's MLB, NFL, NBA, college hoops, whatever the case, and whether it's live betting, arbitrage, all the different topics, all the different areas, and even down to the person that's just getting started saying, hey, I'm not even sure what a point spread is, so can we talk about that? It's all over the board. So I do kind of a customized one-on-one consultation, so check that out. We're having some big changes here this week, so going forward we have some good things going with those folks. Now, also, you need the tools. You really have to have OddsJam to get the data, to get the information, to function with these data-driven insights, and have the math and have all this to help you make these decisions and choices. So it's really where it's at, is using that tool. Make sure you use Boyd20, BOYD20, to get 20% off your first 2 months of OddsJam, all the different subscriptions you have, all the different levels. So, and once you get signed up, let me know. Happy to help you. Happy to talk to you about, your journey to get that tool up and running and expedited if you're having any struggles. So that's all said. Let's get into the picks. All right, here we go. So the first pick I've got going on is the low hold page. Over on the left-hand side here, you can see the positive expected value page. That's where you'll spend a great deal of your time finding, as always, positive expected value bets where the markets are showing outlying prices, where you can find value in the price and direction of the market. Positive EV page is outstanding. I'm skipping over here to the low hold page because the low hold page is something that I find value in very, very frequently, and I have a couple that I want to go through with you here this morning. First one standing out here to me in the Nuggets Heat game is Caldwell Pope over 13.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and I picked that up at -110 at MGM. I just went to log that in at -110. It's got bumped to -115. That's a clue that tells me I'm on the right direction for the right pick. It's also telling me that I like this direction because I use BetOnline as a player prop, NBA player prop, true north, or an indicator of what the market's doing. They're priced up at -144. Now the question is that -144 going down or coming up? It's kind of a big deal, right? I mean, is the price coming down and they're going to drop theirs down to the 110 just like them? Well, let's open this up and take a look. I could actually hit this button and take a look at the pricing, where you can see they were at 10 hours ago -115, just like the average price on the other books. But all of a sudden, they clearly got blitzed pretty hard about 9 hours ago, which would have been really, really late at night. Obviously, some sharps up at night getting the opening lines on these games and putting in their bets and hammering the crap out of this line. So it tells me who's moving it, when it's moving, and how much it's moved. So that's about a 30-cent drop, 30-cent cliff dive down to that level. I like that. That's telling to me. I'd rather be with this than against it. If this was going the other direction, I would avoid this. So that's an indicator. That's a good piece of news. Another one I use is Pinnacle. Now Pinnacle, I think, is also very, very sharp in mainline bets, alt markets, things like that. I give BetOnline a tiny bit of the edge in the player prop market, but I still trust Pinnacle a ton. And they had a similar thing. They had a similar issue. This morning they were at about -118. They've been down to -124. So they're also getting that same direction, that same movement. That's also an indicator that they're seeing the same bright people that are on that type of angle playing this particular situation. And again, I'm going to be over here at MGM hitting this at the -110. You're going to see -115. ESPN bets got a -110, so forth and so on. You can change these books in your settings, and so in your filters and your settings you can change all these. But this is the first pick. This is kind of how you identify one. The goal here is to stack up as many of these positive expected value bets as you possibly can throughout the day, and ideally later in the day you'll look back at this price, and this, MGM will probably have this priced at 125, 130 at the end of the day. We're buying in at 110, 115. That's a better price, better value. That's how you do it. Now, this is another tool, another page at OddsJam. This is the college basketball odds screen at OddsJam, and OddsJam does a great job of providing all the markets, all the information. This just happens to be the main markets, which is basically point spreads and totals. You can see the OddsJam perfect line here. You've got some Bet Online, you've got some Pinnacle, DraftKings. These can be in your settings. Now, I have Novig, which is a new betting exchange here in Colorado. I'll leave the links down below if you want to get signed up. If you're a Colorado sports bettor and you want to get signed up, I'll have the links there, as well as Sporttrade. Sporttrade is another betting exchange. These are really cool things where you're basically going peer-to-peer versus against the book. I guess the quote is, bet the market, not the book. I've got some bookmakers sprinkled in here just because I like to see, there's Sharp Sports book with the mainline bets in college and NBA, really big NBA book. And again, some of the public books here with MGM, ESPN, and 365. So you can see the color codings. The color codings here, the red changes the price. It shows you the direction of the market. And so literally 1 minute ago, this price was -4.5 plus 103. Now it's going up to plus 104. So that being said, I monitor and I use this to check direction, to see who's moving, when it's moving. And you can also do a couple other things here to see direction and price, and I'll show you that next. So what I like to do is actually use, say, Bookmaker or Pinnacle and check out the direction. So in this case, let's just pull up one here at random. Let's take a look at this Wichita State Rice game. On the right-hand side here, you're going to see the timeline, and it's going to open up. You can pull up the various sportsbook, and it's going to show you the charts as far as the prices and the odds here. So this is 21 hours ago, -3. It went down to 3.5, so that's interesting, but then it got bought back. So sometimes when you see this, you don't really know. It's kind of some market efficiency. You're not really sure if there's any good value there, so that's one that I would kind of avoid or pass on for the time being. You can look into some other ones to kind of see what best prices are. And again, I'm just kind of pulling these up at random. But I like to use the market-making sports books and then go find the outlier prices. Even though OddsJam is going to show you best price here, you can actually just do point spreads as well. So if you just want to, have just pure point spreads and not have a combined market, you can do that. It'll change it over for you. So again, there's the point spread markets. Now, another thing you can do too is you can open up the markets here if you want to get into player props markets and points, rebounds, assists, rebounds, whatever the case, in football, basketball, all of it. You have all the markets, everything here. So if you hit this, that's going to open up the markets for this particular scenario. And then we'll see here in a minute. This is crazy because it's showing you some of the points, rebounds, assists markets in college basketball. So right now you have some DraftKings and some ESPN Bet. But you can pull up and find any market, any sport, anything, anywhere, anytime. And it's up to date, accurate, ready to go. So you can use this as a tool in and of itself. Although the concept here with OddsJam is they provide all these picks and selections at the positive EV page, the low hold page, things like that. So I do my own hunting. I do a lot of my own hunting and fishing here on the site. But again, the positive EV page does it for you. All right, so another one here at the low hold page, and this is kind of interesting because this is kind of what these videos are for, is to help kind of show and educate and ideally give you some insights on using the tools and kind of what I see and what works, and hopefully you can incorporate it in your betting. But here we have Klay Thompson, points, rebounds, assists, Warriors, Mavericks. Again, a couple things. I always like Bet Online. Here you can see them at -136, so this -110 over at MGM standing out to me. Got some 115 scattered in here. What's weird though is normally Pinnacle is matched up with Bet Online. They're not. But if you open that up and you see the 123, it's actually coming down. So it's -127 and to -123. So it's going that direction. It's actually falling this way to align with what Bet Online does. So in this sense, or this case, I would probably pick this up over at ESPN Bet at -105. Again, this is your interpretation, your choice, your call. This is the beauty about sports betting, is you don't have to take this wager. You could pass. But I'm just saying that there's some value here potentially at this price at -105. And again, you can open this up, check out their charts. They're pretty back and forth, which is interesting. And then put in your bet size and then go from there, save it in your bet tracker. So that's how easy and fast that is. And on to the next one. All right, guys, another way I like to use the low hold page here is to definitely pit a public book here versus, the odds makers, the big boys, the Pinnacles, the Bet Onlines, the bookmakers, Circas, things like that. And in your settings, you can put all this together. But so again, my point of that is to help you shop and help you, look for things. I typically try to find a Pinnacle versus a DraftKings, or a BetOnline versus a DraftKings, things like this, to where you have MGM versus Pinnacle. You know, you're sort of picking on the weak, and you can structure it this way in your settings. A lot of times when I have two public books going up against each other, it's really hard to trust on who's smarter, because they're both typically pretty dumb. So the reason why you'd want to do this is because you're using these selections, which there's a ton of them, as always, to go through and identify a bet you might want to take advantage of. The other component I like to do is find these -115s, -120s, -107s. I typically don't want to see anything, -200, +190. I try to stay out of those. So these are all really sweet opportunities based on the pricing and the targets of what I like to see. Targets meaning, I don't want to pit these guys against each other. So this is a Pinnacle on BetOnline situation. I probably would hedge towards favoring Pinnacle on a alternative or a derivative line like this, but I probably would pivot to BetOnline in a player prop type situation. So knowing the markets, knowing the books, knowing how, what you're looking for and how to hunt is really going to help you use this. So again, you find some correlating bets too. We played that over in Pope earlier, and again, this is another correlating bet that would seem to say that you can go pick this up at +105. Player made threes. If he's going to have a good night, it kind of correlates with already what's going on at BetOnline. So you're going to see some bets that sort of correlate and jive and work together in this, which is all very encouraging too, because it makes you kind of feel like you're on the right path. And from that standpoint, these are the ones I was talking about. I really like to avoid the -375s, the +350. I'm not really into going up to odds and playing odds that big. I typically go to max about 150, -150. So this is something I would consider. But again, I would find many other bets that I feel like I would have better pricing and a better advantage on. So this is how to use and how to hunt on the low hole page. And just part of it, you can see there is a truckload of opportunities here. And so you can kind of, again, hone in on the markets that you like, whether it's player points or puck lines or, assists or things like that. I have some type of hockey bets that I like and some that I don't. I have some basketball bets that I like and some that I don't based on the markets. So they're all here and they're all for you to sift through and find. But that's my 2 cents on using and how to use the low hole page. Now, more strategy and more tips you can use here. Certainly sometimes on your player prop bets, if you want to do a deeper dive on some of this and go through some of the RotoWire and all the different sites out there that have different matchups and indicators on what happens with assists for Vukovic when certain players are in, certain players are out. How do the Heat handle off guards? What's the success with Donovan Mitchell against the Pelicans in the past? You can do more in-depth, deeper dives on more of a subjective basis. Some of your mainline bets, your alt line bets, like these totals here in the Canucks Avalanche game, these are a little bit more straightforward. Now, this is kind of interesting because this is another teaching point. Again, this video keeps kind of coming up with like tips and methods here. And I see this +105 at DraftKings. That's awesome, right? Well, you go over here and they're at -105. So they've adjusted their price. And this is all happening kind of in a real-time situation. And so, again, that's sort of an indicator. If they're going 10 cents move for the worse for the customer, for the player, that's an indicator. So maybe you go pick this up at the +105 at Betfred, or maybe you go pick it up at +100 at Rivers. They're a public book, usually asleep at the wheel. You can also compare and contrast that with what Pinnacle's doing. Now, Pinnacle earlier had as at +103. They've dropped down 5 cents to -104, to -102, -103. So that indicates to me that that's sort of dropped off and going that direction, in that this sort of seems to be the answer to the test, the under 6.5. The Canucks are a really, really horrible team. I think the Avs might have played last night, but, again, it's all subjective things to think about. But don't you know that the markets and these guys have all know that and have based that into their pricing and have priced that into it. So these people, they're like, well, I'm going to go do some homework and come up with some stats and some information to help me decide, what side's going to be better. Like, well, that's cute and all, but don't you think that the markets have already thought about that? So, again, using market movement to make your picks versus betting against the book is always a really smart thing. Using these tools to find the best price is a smart thing, but these are the clues, the tips, the indicators that would tell you maybe what side you want to be in and when you might want to place bets. Do you want to wait till a little bit later in the day when some of these NBA prop player bets have come out to see if, is Cade really going to play today? Is Mitchell really going to play today? The different injuries that might pop up on these various player prop bets. So again, I show you these tools and it's a vast amount, and so much information, so much to do, so much to cover. And I think having a strategy and then a timing is really going to be helpful for each individual, which again is what I do on the one-on-one basis. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video today just because there was so much information earlier, and you can see there is a truckload of picks to go through and analyze and assess, and so using the tools is going to be hugely helpful. And that's sort of what I do, again, on the one-on-one basis to help you develop your strategy, your timelines, all that together so you can have a profitable plan going forward. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments down below. We'll reach out. We'll get a time set up. Also, make sure you use OddsJam's benefits of all those tools and resources. You can't do it on your own. You have to have the tools. So make sure when you get signed up, you let me know. Say, hey, Boyd, got signed up. We'll do a quick little tutorial if you'd like to, or just kind of talk about your scenario wherever you're located. Again, Colorado Sports Bettors. Make sure you get Sporttrade and Novig signed up. They're betting exchanges. Outstanding to use, really, really fun for many, many reasons and features. We'll be doing more content on those going forward. So again, appreciate you stopping by. If you have any questions, let me know down below. And as always, let's go make some mathematical money.